Did you forget about this one? Because I wish I did. This was the most wasted potential and the most boring of everything we've covered so far. Capsule Monsters is a 12-episode mini-series commissioned by 4Kids. I'm looking at this in the most cynical way possible. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is riding its high right now and Pokemon's equally as popular, so they made a series that's basically just an amalgamation of the two, and throw in some aspects of Digimon as well, but we'll get more into that later. Like I already said, it's supposed to be a 12-episode mini-series, but the box says that it is a feature-length film. Huh, well that's odd. I'm using the movie version for this video because it was the only one that I found that it didn't have watermarks and wasn't a high enough quality. I compared the first 22 minutes of the movie with the first episode of the show, and they seem to be just the same, but the wiki said the movie is a compilation of the first 6 episodes edited together for a more seamless storyline? So if I don't cover anything and you guys are like, well, why didn't you talk about this? That's because it's not in the movie version. The movie opens up to Yugi walking down a smoky dark hallway, where he then sees the pharaoh get grabbed by a big shadowy monster that for some reason sounds like Big the Cat.
Your friend belongs to me now.
I feel numb.
As Yugi's leaving his house, he makes a remark that his grandfather should have been back from his trip already. It then cuts to Joey overhearing an advertisement for a chance to win a trip to India. The next few minutes play out very similar to the first episode of the show, fading through the classroom having Yugi introduce the game they're playing. Instead of Duel Monsters, this time it's Capsule Monsters. And instead of Joey playing against Yugi, it's Taya. Surprising to nobody, Joey won the contest because they have to have a reason for them to be there in the first place to run into Yugi's grandfather. Their plane on the way to India crashes and the gang says the pilots are sending out a distress signal, yet we never see them again, so I wanted to assume that they died and 4Kids censored this, but when I went to go fact check it, apparently the Wikia says the original Japanese version of this series has not been made public. Despite never being aired in Japan, it's included on Studio Galb's website with the title Yu-Gi-Oh! Alex. Wait a second, this is all starting to make sense. 4Kids commissioned, catchable monsters, bland white character that's tagging along with the team. 4Kids commissioned self-insert fanfiction for Americans! Holy shit!
Alexander the Great, of course.
Fun fact, did you know? My father named me after Alexander the Great. Man, was he really disappointed. I really don't want to blatantly accuse 4Kids of copying Pokemon, but there are a lot of really jarring similarities that are really hard to ignore. Their monsters are stored in small little devices. They fire them out yelling, "Go," or "I choose you," or "Come forth." Having their monsters do random made-up moves, like Yugi telling Celtic Guardian to use Spiral Sword Attack. When these said monsters are in danger or getting hurt, they call them back with a laser beam and return them back into their small device. Pokemon at the time was also riding the high of their last 2 films. Lucario and the Mystery of Mew grossed $37 million in the box office. It was top 4 domestically for 6 weeks in Japan. For the first 3 weeks, it was second worldwide. Destiny of Deoxys the year prior grossed $34 million. It was the #1 animated film that year in Japan. If you're going to take anything away from what I just said, is that Japan fucking loves Lucario, and I don't understand why. Other than this, it doesn't really have any more similarities with Pokemon, and it actually has a lot more with the first season of Digimon. Specifically the first 30 minutes of this movie and the first 3 episodes of the Digimon show. The gang is separated in the forest where they encounter the first monsters and their first monsters. Attacked by a giant flying enemy, attacked on the beach by a sea creature, learning about how their monsters' powers work through these encounters, attacked while camping at night. Again, I'm not saying they blatantly copied Digimon. These concepts and ideas aren't exactly that original to begin with, but this is just more food for thought. I'm going to disclaimer that this next point is going to be a little repetitive throughout this video because I'm going to keep mentioning it where I see that it comes up. Is that this did not need to be 12 episodes / a 3-hour-long film. Once they get into Capsule Monster Land, they spend nearly 20 fucking minutes fighting their first enemies they encountered. Because they keep doing the stupid fucking thing that every poorly paced show does, is where they cut away from characters before they actually finish what they're doing, or at least get to a good part to cut away from them. It starts with Yugi getting separated from Taya and Tristan. Then it cuts to Joey getting grabbed by the bird thing. Then it cuts back to Taya and Tristan reaching the beach. Then it cuts to Yugi fighting off the insect, getting Celtic Guardian. Then a slapstick humor with Joey in the bird's nest, where he gets Baby Dragon. Then Taya and Tristan getting attacked on the beach. Then Yugi fighting the trees in the forest. Then Joey in the cave. Then back to the beach. You see how repetitive this is getting? We're getting fucking nowhere. Only after the 33-minute mark do the characters actually actually get together again? Why not just let them complete their fucking tasks before cutting between each other? Because you have so much fucking wasted time. This is supposed to be the cut down version? In the original 12 episodes, does that mean that there's like 20 fucking more minutes of them fighting? The thing I kept thinking throughout this movie was, who made the Capsule Monsters game exactly? Was it Pegasus, or was this another Duke Devlin-esque thing where he got the approval? Because Celtic Guardian is in it. Is this another case of... Or is Celtic Guardian some sort of public domain character like Robin Hood where anyone can use them? Are they some sort of folk tale of old? Or a great hero from the past? Well, at least Joey can't reproduce now. No, supposed to be a main character. Really glad to see they put all that budget into making that fluid hand animation. Oh my fucking god, what did they do to Kuribo? He looks like he's fucking melting. It's like Pikachu from that new fucking Sun and Moon episode. So this whole time Grandpa had summoned Skull? Why didn't he use it when they were getting attacked in the woods at night? Or when he was being frozen solid in the temple? They had to abandon all their shit and leave it all behind. That includes their food. You think he'd be like, well, I better use this thing. I guess I really can't hold too much against him. It's probably just the dementia setting in. So while Yugi's inside trying to solve the latest part of their puzzle to return back home, the rest of the gang has to fight off 4 statues which become reanimated. They introduced earlier that the characters take damage when their monsters are hit. The slightest slap knocked them to the ground earlier, but now when Joey's monsters are getting punched into the earth and Tails are getting wrung out like a used washcloth, all they do is slightly stagger and go They managed to complete the quest just in the nick of time and Yugi got his new gold armor. They don't exactly know what it does yet though, and then they get magically transported to the middle of the desert. They then have another bloated fight scene in said desert, fighting worms during a sandstorm. This is basically the same scene from the first filler in season 1. This whole scene pretty much exists just so you get confused with Dark Magician Digimon Frontier style. We're now about an hour and 22 minutes into this 3-hour film, and I was so fucking bored until the best character showed up, Prisman. He just oozes aesthetic.
Attention instead of complaining.
Joey's right. Now watch me and do what I do.
This is probably the only funny joke they've had so far, and I haven't brought it up, but they have non-stop attempted to insert unfunny jokes. Like in season 4, the show touched on some interesting ideas, but never really went anywhere with them. Last time it was about Rex and Weevil trying to accept the fact that they became washed up in has-beens, and that Yugi took their place as excellent duelists, and they had to live with the fact that they were bad and no one liked them anymore after their popularity ended. The people that hung out with them weren't really their friends, they were just with them because of the popularity. This time, it's actually something that I brought up and complained about in the past. In my Season 3 Part 2 video, I complained about how Yugi is basically God in this fucking universe. No matter what everyone does, in the end, Yugi is always going to win. There's literally no other reason to have any other character in this show because at the end of the day, Yugi is going to defeat the bad guy. They sideline other characters' potentials just so Yugi can win, like where Joey had the ability to beat Merrick, but they bullshit let him lose so Yugi can get motivated and defeat Merrick in the final battle. Tristan actually shows some real character in this. He's frustrated that he can't do anything and always has to rely on Yugi to do everything and save him at the end of the day. Right as when they're about to actually start acknowledging this and give these characters some development, they quickly sweep it under the rug going, ah, Tristan, you thought of something this time, good job. And then they go back to being cheerleaders and existing only to power up Yugi for the final fight. So the second half of this movie starts, and yes, there is a credit sequence after the hour and 30-minute mark. So maybe this is disc 2 for the physical version? They're now climbing up a volcano to destroy the Edgelord's sword, or Chaos Blade, I don't fucking remember what it was called. Joey gets separated from the group and falls onto Red Eyes' back, and then he merges with it, becoming the Lord of Red again. Remember the Lord of Red? That thing that he used that one time in the Orichalcos arc that was actually cool? Of course, he's now been possessed by it, and he's evil, and he has to fight Yugi. Where the first half drew parallels from Digimon Adventures 1, the second half draws a lot of parallels between Digimon Frontier. The whole fusing with your monsters and wearing them like a suit of armor, a main character having to fight a friend slash family member who is now possessed by their evil armor. The final boss of the show is a giant gold monster, and all the main characters have to put their faith and power into the main character where they become an over-designed mess. Albeit the designs for the final monster and the final character form in Digimon were a lot better than this. With all that said, let's see when Digimon Frontier came out. Oh. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Again, I'll preface this by stating that I don't think 4Kids just blatantly copied these things. These ideas aren't that original to begin with. I just have a hard time not seeing this as a cash grab where they're just taking a lot of ideas from the other main competitors and mashing them into their own thing to try to sell more product. You definitely won't be hearing me complaining about taking influences from Digimon Frontier, because I think that's probably the best Digimon out there. This is where I really start to think that the show's wasted potential starts bleeding through. They have the ability to have any monster they wanted the characters to have and use them in these creative ways. Tristan had the freedom because he isn't a duelist, so he doesn't have anything already pre-assigned to him. Sadly, Joey and Yugi just had to use fucking Dark Magician, Celtic Guardian, and anything else they fucking used before, because
That's the thing they've already used. I know what that is. I clapped when I saw it.
considering how the show is just a 22-minute advertisement for the card game, and this is just a 3-hour-long advertisement, you think they want to show off more things, especially since old day Yu-Gi-Oh had a lot of really weird and bizarre designs. So after they free Joey, he then has Red Eyes as his own capsule monster, but now he doesn't have the ability to do the combat armor thing like Yugi does. But why not? Why is that a thing only Yugi can do? Wouldn't it be really interesting and cool to have all the characters fused with their own monsters? Basically just fully embrace the Saint Seiya bullshit? No? Okay, I guess not. So much for seeing cool things. Tristan got so mad that what he thought was a giant melon turned out to be a bug. He said,
Besides, impersonating produce is not cool.
so after about 15 minutes of aimlessly walking around lost in a maze, they manage to find their way out, solving the puzzle, which warps them right back to their campsite. That's convenient. Alexander the Great then walks up to the camp and goes, yo, I'm Alexander the Great. Let me tell you some backstory you're gonna forget about, because this is filler. They then go to the next area, where they stop a girl from being executed and sacrificed to Blue Eyes White Dragon. The townspeople tell them, well, if you manage to kill the fucking dragons that are killing our people, then we don't have to kill this kid. So the gang splits up and kills the dragons individually. Of course, they all then form to be fucking 5-headed dragon, the stupid thing that's in every fucking filler arc. Why is this the boss or the penultimate enemy? Could they not use anything else? Why is it always 5-headed dragon? Fuck. This is the 4th fucking time. I don't get 4Kids' hard on for this monster. Yugi then infuses with Blue Eyes White Dragon, becomes prototype Necros of Bryonic, and then kills it in one hit. Wow, such a fucking great enemy. After defeating 5-headed dragon, Alexander the Great explains to them how his personality split when he put on the Millennium Ring. He stows away in Grandpa's body, kind of like how Yami does with the Millennium Puzzle as they go back to their world and confront Alexander, the Doctor. Of course, it's not gonna happen because we still got 40 fucking more minutes of this movie. The evil half has his stereotypical villain monologue saying, haha, I won, the real me was too weak. I'm the now real me. I know it would have been just as equally generic and cliche, but I kind of would have liked it if Alexander was just evil to begin with. So now they have to fight evil Alexander in Space Olympus, and the last 30 minutes is just mindless fighting that goes nowhere. It gets so boring instantly, it's probably worse than the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight during episode 3. It just goes on for so long that I'm just so desensitized and bored. The most notable and interesting thing to happen during this 30-minute fight is that evil Alexander summons quote-unquote,
Well, in the board game, it's practically indestructible.
which can read minds, so no one could ever land a hit on it. But when they try to read Yami's mind, he just gets trapped in the puzzle's labyrinth because his mind is tied to the puzzle, which I'm pretty sure they've done before in the show already. But even then, it's still the most interesting and creative thing they've done so far. Seriously, what happened to the whole you getting hurt if your monster takes damage? Flamestormer just fucking died. Why exactly does he scream Yu-Gi-Oh here? As all hope seems lost, everyone puts their faith into Yami and he becomes the most overly designed character this show has ever seen. It's fucking hideous. But now it gives him the strength to beat Alexander's golden Lego monster, and the day is saved. This is just such a bloated fucking mess. This did not need to be 12 episodes. This could have been a 4-parter at most. There's so much just fluff and meaningless crap that just extends the runtime. The season 1 failure did what Capsule Monsters set out to do in 3 episodes. In some horrible nightmare timeline, this is what inspired the Gods of Egypt. You know, that movie that was voted the worst movie of 2016? Huh, that looks oddly familiar. Oh no. Maybe I'll eventually do a video on that, but that's a story for another time. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you did enjoy this video. I'm going to say this now, but I'm going to be doing everything wrong with Berserk 2017 before I start on Season 5. I know I've been putting it off a lot, and I'm sorry for that, but I hope you guys do understand, because I do want it to be the best possible outcome. There's a lot of things I do have planned for the finale, and I hope you guys are excited. So again, thanks for watching, and see you next time.